How many of you already know what a pig butchering scam is? Raise your hand if you know what a pig butchering scam is. Oh, you guys, this is a well-informed group. Glad to see it. How many of you have gotten a text from someone you did not ask for that text from in the past week? How many have gotten one today? Okay, how many of those were tolls? How many of you guys owe money for tolls? All right, how many of you have a package to pick up at USPS? All right, anybody just interested in getting to know you? Yeah, okay, great. I'm sure, I'm sure there's good reason they'd want to get to know you. I found out about this scam just over 3 years ago when I was a prosecutor in Santa Clara County, and it has changed my life. And so I am here. If you don't leave this room nervous and scared about what's happening, then I have not done my job, because we are facing a crisis. This is 100% a national security crisis. It is crushing people. I just put down my phone. Somebody was texting me. They spoke with a professor at UMass who is contemplating suicide because she lost her entire fortune. And this is happening all day, every day. This is my everyday. So let's get into it. I've got a ton to tell you, and I'm open to your questions, because this is the kind of problem that's not my problem. It's not telco's problem. It's not diplomacy's problem. It's not law enforcement's problem. It's everybody's problem. And it's not going to stop until we all work together to fix it. Because everybody is so willing to say, oh, well, you know, really law enforcement should be looking at this. Really, this is Meta's fault. Really, US government should be doing something about this. And I agree with all of that. But we don't win until we do this together. So I am a career prosecutor in Santa Clara County, which is just south of here. I did that for 26 and a half years. At the last part of my career, I worked with an elite high-tech task force called the REACT Task Force. We prosecuted SIM swappers. It's a type of hacking where they take over your phone service. We were the first to send SIM swappers to prison. We take high-tech crime very seriously. And so when we got our first pig butchering case in March 2022, it would have been easy to say, and some detectives all day, every day in this country say, well, the money goes overseas, the bad guys are overseas, there's nothing we can do about it. But that's not what my team did. And now, after 26 and a half years and me realizing that this was so much bigger than where I was sitting, I retired and I started a nonprofit to fight transnational organized crime. So I'm going to tell you all about it today, and I'm excited to get into it. So if you guys already know pig butchering, you already know that it's going to start with some sort of attention grabber. And this is one of the original ones from 2022 that, you know, everybody cares about a dog that's not eating their dog food. We've got to respond to that. And then they got a little more sophisticated. They wanted to make sure that we understood they were traveling to high-end places and that they had an assistant. This was all part of the process, the procedure to lead you to believe that you were talking to a very sophisticated elite woman. And if you responded to those texts, this is the next text that you get. And it's going to be just like this, and she's going to say, hi, I'm Jessica. I hope I'm not disturbing you. And if you've gotten one of these, you've heard that language, because that's what they do. And that's what's interesting about this case, these crimes. They've been at this for over 5 years, and nobody has even made it difficult for them to do this work. So they have honed their craft. They know what works, and they know what works on American males, and they know exactly what to put in front of you to get you to respond. And they know what happens to what works on American females as well. I want to be clear that this is the type of crime that is hitting men and women. So when I talk about Jessica, and I'll talk about Jessica throughout this presentation, know that there's also an Ethan that's doing the exact same thing. And if you saw the statistics from the FBI that came out last week, you may not have done the math that I did, but this math is important to me. There are as many victims of these crimes that are under 50 as there are over 50. So we keep wanting to craft this as, the media loves to craft this as the pathetic woman with her cats who's desperate and no one would love her, so she's into this. That's not who our victims are. Our victims are your neighbors. Our victims are the person that is sitting next to you on the BART train into San Francisco. These are everyday people, and my job and your job as part of this, because you're all on notice after you leave this room, is to tell everyone you know about this, that those texts you're getting are super dangerous, and that people are getting crushed by them. So here's Jessica. She's gonna, of course she's at the gym because that's appealing, and she is going to, the way it's gonna work is she's probably gonna get you through a text, or more likely she's going to connect with you on the Meta platform. She's going to reach out and she's going to be in your fine foods group, she's going to be in your fine wine group, she's going to be in your crocheting group, and she's going to start talking to you. But what's important to know about these, and I told you, they've absolutely honed their craft, they do the same things over and over. So if we know what to start looking for and we start telling people what to start looking for, that gives us an edge up. So what she's going to do for sure is once you start talking, texting a couple of times back and forth, she's going to move you to WhatsApp. And it was always WhatsApp. Now it's a little bit more Signal, Telegram, other encrypted, but it's primarily WhatsApp. Now, she's going to play golf for sure. She is going to tell you that she drives a Range Rover. And she's going to tell you that she's on an expensive vacation in Hawaii. Now, I had an unbelievably amazing experience just 5 days ago. I was in the Philippines, and I went there to see some scam centers that had been raided. And one of them was left intact, with the scripts on the table, with the stuff in their dormitory, with the rotting food in the grocery store. But it was an amazing window, and with me went a woman who had been human trafficked and who had been on the other side sitting at those desks and being forced to do this work. And the insight I got from her was amazing. And what she told me was she has a whole fleet of pictures just like this with her, she would call her model, with her model, Samantha. And that every day she'd have to report to the big boss, here's what Samantha's doing tomorrow, and the big boss would look at the pictures, say that's great, and off she'd go. And that next day, that would be what Samantha would do. It's sophisticated, it's entrenched, it's done from scripts. Now, one of the things that I always talk about is, and this did not go over in Thailand, I said, how do you eat an elephant? Like, what do you do when something, rewind, how do you take on something that is massive, that's too big, a marathon? Well, you do a marathon 1 mile at a time. You eat an elephant 1 bite at a time, and that does not go over in Thailand because they revere elephants. It was crickets in the room, and so lesson learned. But what you do is you do it a small piece at a time. You do it baby steps at a time. And so one of the things I'm a big fan of is police your own space on the internet. All of us have spaces that we like to go on the internet, so let's make sure they are scam-free. So I am frequently awake overnight because I'm frequently awake overnight, and sometimes I scan my Facebook groups, and I am over 50, a woman who loves to travel, and so I'm in the over 50s women's travel group, and I noticed that just after the first of the year, people joining this group were exceptionally attractive. And they did not look like this girl looks when she gets off a long-haul flight. They look like that. And so this woman, Emily from Nashville, tells us that, that she's been done wrong by men, and that's why she's in this group. And what the scammers are, and when I saw that, I thought, that is not a real person. So I took that photograph and I put it into the Google reverse image search, and I found out that actually she is a German influencer, and she's beautiful and has a lovely influencer type life. And then I wrote about it. I wrote about it on my Facebook of, hey, everybody in our Facebook group, here's who this person really is. She's a scammer. And then I got the trolls who were like, you don't know, you judge everybody. And I was like, no, she's a scammer. Here's why I do know, and here's how I know this. But then I posted it in LinkedIn. And the very next day, I got a message from a banker who follows me because of what I talk about in Nashville, who says, thank you for posting Emily from Nashville. I matched with her on Bumble, and I've been talking to her, so thank you for saving my heart and my wallet. I see now that she is not who I thought she was. And then I got another message from a woman who is on QVC in Germany who says, wow, this is my broadcast partner. So the point is, with that little thing, with me posting that little thing, I was able to help one person. And what you're going to hear throughout this is the work that I am doing, the work that my friend Professor Gary Warner is doing, the work that all of us who are in this space all day, every day is doing is helping people. And it is helping people little by little. It's not the big moves that need to be made, and we'll talk about that, but it is helping people. I want to talk to you about financially how this works, because you might not know. You might know already, but you might not. So what will happen is after this 90-day courting period where the scammer has gotten the victim to fall in love with him, the scammer has sold this victim a dream. And the dream is you could be with someone as beautiful and wealthy and sophisticated as me, and we could have this life together. And then it compounds with, and also this person that you are in love with and who has created this perfect relationship with you is also wealthy. And she could make you wealthy, because do you know how she got wealthy? Well, she invested in cryptocurrency. And she didn't know how to do that, but her uncle taught her, and her uncle could teach you. There's another one of the recurring themes that you're going to see every single time. And now they're branching out and they're doing different things, like you're buying gold or you're doing whatever. But the point is this: there is a means to get wealthy that they know about that they could teach you. And it allows her to maintain this close relationship and then put someone else in the position of doing these trades. So here's how it works. You are suggested to take a small amount of money from your bank account. Now, over this 90-day courting period, she's found out exactly how much money you have and where it's kept, because that's the nature of pig butchering. It does not stop until they've taken every last penny. This isn't like Nigerian scams where maybe they take 10,000, 20,000, maybe they get 50 or 100,000. These are scams where I'm getting calls all the time of people losing their entire net worth. And if you live in Santa Clara County in Silicon Valley, that can be a lot of money. But it doesn't matter that it's a lot of money. What matters is that it's all of their money. And I've also worked on cases where somebody lost $15,000, but he was 25 years old, and that is all the money he had, and he encouraged a friend to do it, and so there was so much guilt that came along with that. We need to be clear that there are big numbers here, but the gravity of the loss is always the same. It's always everything. So she's going to know that $5,000 is not a lot of money to you, or whatever the number is. You take it out of your bank account and you put it into a cryptocurrency exchange. How many of you are pretty much familiar with cryptocurrency? Like, you kind of understand it? Okay. All right. The rest of you, how many of you you can kind of understand like a bunch of poker chips in front of me? You can understand that, right? Okay. So if you take your 5,000 US dollars and you trade them for these 5,000 poker chips, that's what you've got. So these are businesses in the United States that allow you to make that trade. They're banks for cryptocurrency. And these are US based, and they're familiar to victims. So they get the victim to take their US dollars and change it to USDT. That is the name of this poker chip. This poker chip is called Tether. It's also known as USDT, and it's 1-to-1, so it's not that confusing for novices. But that's a piece of it, is they're not going after sophisticated crypto investors. They are going after regular people who don't have a ton of knowledge about what's happening. So there's no theft yet. You've taken your $5,000, now you have 5,000 Tether, and it's in a Coinbase account that has your name on it. Here's where it gets stolen. Now they say, my uncle says this is the site that you should use. It's called excesscoin.trade. And to a lot of people, they cannot tell the difference between this website and Fidelity or Morgan Stanley. This all looks the same to them, and they're trusting this person because this person's going to marry them, and so they're not going to lead them astray. And in fact, this person might even say, let's go in together. So they think, oh, okay, well then this really must be legit. So they're going to put their $5,000 into this. That's where it's stolen. So when it comes out of the Coinbase account and goes into this, it's not going into this. It's going into a wallet owned by the scammer, and it's going down the blockchain and getting cashed out at the other end. But our victim doesn't know that. And our victim sees that that money, there's a beautiful dashboard, looks like any other bank, and it says your money is $5,000, now it's $6,800, now it's $7,500, and by the end of the week it's $10,000. And regular people think, oh my God, I have hit the lottery. I have found the love of my life, and I'm gonna get rich. And then she comes back the next week and she'll say, oh, well, there's a really great opportunity next week, according to my uncle, and you need $100,000 for it. Because Jessica knows you have $100,000 because she knows that you have $500,000 in your 401k. And she'll get you to take it out. And that's what's happening. These people are liquidating their retirement accounts. They are liquidating their children's college accounts. Oops. And then what they find out, you don't have to read all the little print in there, you can just know that taxes are due. So when they try, so now they've put everything they have. They've put their $500,000 into it, and it's probably worth $1.5 million now. And they say, well, I think I would like to take some out and go on a trip to Hawaii. Well, that's when the scammer says, oh, well, you have to pay taxes on that. Okay, take it out of my gains. No, it has to be new money. And that's when our victims are going back to the bank and they are getting a home equity line, or they are going to get a payday loan, or they are borrowing from friends or relatives because this is going to be a short turnaround. I'm going to pay this off and then I'm going to get all this money. And I'm here to tell you that this last week on Friday, I went to the home of a couple, and the man had Parkinson's, and the woman, and he engaged in a online relationship and moved family money out without her knowing any of it. And then I heard it again, the similar case the next day, and the man was 70 years old and had early onset dementia, and nobody knew it until this happened. And guess what some of the characteristics are of Parkinson's and early onset dementia? Financial recklessness, sexual acting out. These scammers are using everything against us. They've created the most genius, masterful way to take a generation's worth of wealth from the United States and the rest of the world. So say you pay your taxes, you get this, congratulations. And then you get this, well, now you need another $10,000. And I'm here to tell you that people, sunk cost fallacy, will think, well, I'm just going to pay it. I'm already in for everything I have. I'm just going to do this. And they're able to get more blood out of turnips over and over. I want to tell you a little bit about where this is happening and why this is of such massive significance. This is happening, so what I can tell you is what was definitely true in 2022 when I first started looking at this. This was 100% Chinese organized crime, and this was 100% happening in Southeast Asia. And since that time, it's grown, and we'll talk about that, and the numbers have gotten bigger, and the more organized crime has gotten into it. But what this is a very targeted offensive by Chinese organized crime to steal a generation's worth of wealth, and they're crushing it. So now these are last year's numbers. You have to turn in your slides early, so I didn't get a chance to update them. But what you'll see there is the problem with all of this is we don't have the data. That is a major problem that if you are the smart data people in this room, you could help us with. We need a vetted, independent, third-party location to collect this data so that we can actually track what's happening and what isn't happening. Because IC3 isn't functional for this. IC3 it's dividing it into way too many threads, so we can't really figure out exactly how big is this problem. And we know that maybe, according to AARP, maybe 1 in 10 reports this. Because, why? Because they've picked a genius crime, right? It's humiliating, it's embarrassing. Not only did you fall in love with someone online, but then you put all of your money into an investment. People are humiliated and embarrassed to report this, and with good reason, because what's happening when they go into local law enforcement, and I say this as law enforcement is my home, they are not treated well. I spoke with a victim. On Fridays, I speak with victims, and on Friday of this week, I spoke with a victim who told me that he came in with all his documents, and he brought them to his local police department outside Atlanta and said, here's what happened to me. And the officer said, I'm not going to look through those documents. I didn't have time to look through your documents. How much did you lose? And he said, $1.7 million. And he said, How could you be so stupid? That's what's happening. That's real life. And that's what I try to fix on the daily. So we can talk more about that. But here's what we do know. So we don't have great data. And we don't have enough people reporting what's happening. But here's what we know of last year. Data from the FBI, 4.5 billion lost in investment scams. Well, that's not all of the pig butchering. We know there's more to it. Maybe these people, when they were self-selecting what happened to them, selected romance scam. Okay, so that's 6.5 million. So 6.5 million, here's my quick math, 6.5 million plus 4.5 billion, you end up over $5 billion was lost in 2023 that was reported. If you multiply that by 10 for the 1 in 10, you get $50 billion lost by the US in 2023. Maybe it's not that high, maybe it's only 25 billion. But you know what that number is? Half the GDP of the country of, I want to say Colombia, but that's not what it is at all. It's Cambodia. The point is the numbers are massive. They are massive, and we've never experienced a bloodletting like this before. We have never experienced a situation ever in the history of the United States where this much money is flowing out and flowing into the hands of organized crime. I want to tell you where this is happening. This is a picture of Cambodia. This is, you notice the water buffalo there adjacent. This is the theme of all of this, is these beautiful pastoral settings and then these massive high-tech buildings adjacent to them. And so what happened is back in COVID, pre-COVID, gambling is not allowed in China. There is an appetite for gambling from China. And cryptocurrency is not allowed in China. And so Chinese organized crime, and when I say that, I don't say it lightly. I mean 14K triad. I mean actual convicted Chinese organized criminals running these syndicates. They think, well, what should we do next? Well, why don't we set up in Sihanoukville, Cambodia? That's this beautiful, my colleague Alona Katz is the prosecutor in Brooklyn that handles this, and she said when she was there 20 years ago, she sat on the beach eating mangoes. And what happened is that Chinese organized crime showed up and started building these massive compounds right there, and that was going to be online gaming and gambling. People could come down to Sihanoukville. Chinese Belt and Road Initiative built a fantastic road that makes getting there easy, and they thought this will be perfect. COVID hits, people aren't moving, and Chinese organized crime says, well, what are we going to do with all this space and all what should we do? I know, let's do Shazupan. And Shazupan is the Chinese name for pig butchering. The concept is we are going to fatten up these victims with love, and then we are going to slit their throat and take everything they have. And that's what this is. It's their crime, it is their name, and the reason I specifically use it is my job is to make sure that your cousin knows what this is, and to make sure that your babysitter knows what this is, and your mom knows what this is. And if you guys saw an advertisement to come here about financial grooming, I don't think you would have come. But if I'm talking about pig butchering, yeah, you might want to find out what is this girl with the purple glasses talking about? What is this pig butchering business? And that's why I call it that. I'm as empathetic to victims as they come, but I'm going to call it pig butchering all day and all night because it's going to get your attention. So they decided we're going to do pig butchering. Well, to do pig butchering, you've heard me describe this scam, and you know that we're going to need a lot of humans on the other side. So how are we going to do that? Well, just as sophisticated as they are with putting together the websites, they are also putting up ads. And where are they putting them? On the Meta platform. And what they say is, hey, come, we are hiring computer operators, data entry, graphic design, and that number 700 to 900, that is triple what somebody makes in Cambodia. If you followed any of the tariff stuff that's been going on, you know that garment workers in Cambodia make $250 a month. And this is another problem, is that now if we tariff with these tariffs, we're not going to have a garment industry in Cambodia. And the only industry that's going to be available, their big industries are tourism and garments. And if we take away garments, the next industry is scamming. And I'll tell you, that's exactly what I saw when I went to Cambodia. Anyway, this all looks great. People think I could use a job. Unemployment is 20%. They apply to this. It looks completely legit. They have an interview. They have a second interview, and they say, great, you're hired. We're going to send you a plane ticket to Bangkok, where we're located. So come on over. And we'll get to this map in a minute. And when they get there, their passports are taken. They are put on buses, and their phones are taken, and they are bused to compounds. How many of you knew that this was happening in scam compounds? Where good, I'm doing my job then, good, you guys. This is happening in scam compounds with people guarding them with AK-47s. And when I said that one time, somebody was like, it's probably not an AK-47, it's probably the Chinese weapon, which it may very well be, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, it's guarded by men with weapons. They get there and they find out, oh, actually, no, your job is not to do graphic design. Your job is to scam people. And we work 16 hours a day. Your workday is the American workday, so you're going to be up all night. And this is how it works. So while I was a prosecutor, my office did not think it was a good idea for me to go to Cambodia. So as soon as I retired, that was the first thing I did, is I set up my trip to Cambodia. And I took this 1,000-mile driving tour over 4 days with 2 journalists and some security. And those were not 1,000 easy miles. Those were not 1,000 miles down to the Magic Kingdom from here. Those were hard miles. But what I did, and what you'll see, is that I went, Phnom Penh is the capital, located there with the red balloon. And if you look down, I went to the Vietnam border. I went to Praia Sihanouk, that's Sihanoukville, the original place where all of this developed. I went to the Dar es Salaam airport. Let me tell you why that matters. If you've been following, and part of my job here is to tell you this isn't just about your grandma losing her money. This is about national security. And this is about how China is becoming entrenched in this area. And so in Praia Sihanouk, there is a naval base called the Ream Naval Base. And we used to have American warships docked there. Until China said, we will help you guys. We will build some roads for you. We will dig this out and make it a deeper water place for warships. And if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and store our warships there on the South China Sea. And that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what's happening today. And Cambodia and China will say, oh, it's not, I mean, they're not really, they're just here for a minute. They're not really here. But 100%, that's where China's docking warships that, yes, can accommodate aircraft carriers. Now, here's what matters about Dar es Salaam Airport. Dar es Salaam was built by Chinese businessmen, AKA the Triad, who said, we're going to take this land. This is how this all works in Cambodia. We're going to take this big piece of land and we're going to develop it. And what they're doing is they're building scam cities. So this airport at Dar es Salaam Airport that I went and saw is massive. There's nothing out there. And it can accommodate military aircraft. It's that big. So you tell me why we need an airport that can accommodate military aircraft right adjacent to where the Chinese are docking their warships, and we shouldn't be concerned about that. Also went up to Koh Kong and then up to Timor Da, which is on the Thai border. So what I saw was alarming. What I saw was there were a number of takeaways. Number one, the scale you cannot believe. You cannot believe it. If I didn't believe it till I was on the ground outside that. Now that is these buildings right here. That's that. And if you look, now I'm on the ground looking at them. Those are like bigger than college dormitories. They are housing 6 or 8 to a room. And inside, those are people that are being human trafficked, beaten, and forced. And I talked about the level of violence? It's extreme. And being forced to do, because it has to be extreme to do this to a fellow human. No human wants to do this to another human. You have to be beaten with a baseball bat or made to beat your colleague with a baseball bat to do this. So here it is. What they've done is they've walled in this area, and people are not allowed to leave, and they are forced to do this work. So number one, takeaway from Cambodia, it's massive. The scale is insane. And number two, it's happening in plain sight. If you ask people, what's going on in those buildings? They'll say, oh, online. They do online in there. That's the okay term for scamming. This is their industry, and their industry is directed at stealing our money. That is their industry. So what's interesting about this picture is you see the smaller building in the front. That's what was originally built when they said, hey, let's try this out and let's see if we can build scam buildings and steal money from the rest of the world. And now they've found out nobody's coming. We can do that. We're getting away with this. Billions and billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. Let's build a massive building like that. I can't even think of a building like that in the United States. And you can see it's in the middle of nowhere. Now I want to talk to you what's happening in Myanmar. I was no expert in the geopolitical situation of Southeast Asia 3 years ago, but I am now, and here's what I do know. This is KK Park. It is one of the most vile and violent places on the planet. It was built for the express purpose of taking your money and your grandma's money. And this is it. It is that river you see there is the Moy River. It separates Myanmar from Thailand, and it's just a massive complex. It's a city. When you think, like, I wish I had an overlay of downtown San Francisco on there because it's that big. It's huge. So I want to show you why we need to be concerned. Well, this is what it looked like in February 2020. I want you to notice there are two humps of this river, right? And you can see the blue and the red. There was nothing there in February 2020. Farmland, complete agrarian situation. And this is what they built in 3 years. We can't get anything built in 3 years. We can't get your kitchen remodeled in 3 years. But this is what's happening in Myanmar, and this is what it looks like in 2025. Now we've got both humps. And I was just there in December, and I could see across the river at this dirt patch that's now developed. They're not stopping. They have no reason to stop. Nobody is stopping them. So I went there. I saw it. It's crazy. It's jaw-dropping. It's really difficult when you've spoken to victims who are crying and telling you how they've lost everything, and you can see victims literally on the other side of the river that you know are in there being forced to do this work. That was the thing that was really, this is just down from KK Park. This isn't even KK Park. So I've told you about KK Park, and then like within a mile, there's this place. And look at the cookie cutter buildings. They're like, we are gonna take as little real estate as we can, put them right next to each other, and just get them up, get them up, get them up. And that black screen did not used to be there, but because now they want to hide the fact that they're making them do excessive exercise in the 100-degree weather and 100% humidity. That's what's happening there. It's horribly violent and it's terrible. And here's another one. Like it would be one thing if I was like, there is one place. Like, can you imagine if I told you in San Francisco, there's one building in here that's housing slaves? We would be like aghast, right? But what if that's the entire country is what they're doing over and over and over? This is one of the most violent, and what I want to show you is you can see the grating back there. When we arrived at the scene, we heard fireworks going off, and at first we thought they were bullets, and because you're on edge anyway, because you're chasing Chinese mafia, and so it turns out that this was a celebratory moment because they are increasing their footprint. And when I came back this year, there was 4 months between when this was taken and the next time I went there. There were buildings there, and that green, like almost heart-shaped new forest, that was taken down to build more stuff back there. Now this is interesting. Remember earlier I was talking to you about police your own part of the internet and police what you can do. So we sat on the road that is from Thailand that goes into Myanmar, and we watched the traffic coming down, and we watched the entire supply chain going into KK Park. And we saw all the cranes and all the building and the concrete. And in fact, it's even called KK Concrete. Like they're not even discreet about this. And when we drove down the road, we saw, oh, and here's the concrete station, and it's all in Thailand. And my next stop after that trip was I went immediately to Australia. I put these slides in my presentation in Australia, and that was in front of a bunch of different law enforcement agencies from all over APAC, and it's been in my slide deck ever since. And I keep talking about it. I keep talking about low-hanging fruit. Let's cut off that road. Let's stop giving them the concrete to build the buildings, to house the slaves, to steal our money. And then I came back. And I am here to tell you, we pulled up at the very point where that concrete factory was, and I'll prove it to you. If you look back, there's a cement towers that say 1122. And, oh, you can't see me in this picture. You'll have to take my word for it. If you don't believe me, you don't believe me. But I'm here to tell, like, I don't make that face just for fun. I could not believe it, that it was gone. And then there's trolls, and trolls will be like, they just moved it. They just blah, 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 blah. Okay, but that was expensive. That was a hassle for them. That was difficult for them. And so that's what we do. That's how we keep trying to do this. Gary Warner takes down their websites, blacklists their addresses. We are trying to figure out every way we can be disruptive to this bad activity. 5 days ago, I was in the Philippines. And this building is located 5 blocks from the U.S. Embassy. It is located within view of the Philippine government buildings. And this was happening in Metro Manila, plain sight. It's known as and what I found out in there, so here he's showing you how close they are to a government building. And I don't think I have all the good slides in there, but this was atrocious. This place had an aquarium. An aquarium? Yeah, an aquarium where you can choose the girl that you want. If you've made money doing your pig butchering, here's how you can spend it. You can spend it downstairs in the casino. You can go to the aquarium and pick out a woman. You can go to the karaoke. I've never seen such a decked out karaoke suite as I saw in this building. It was hideous. And this is happening in Metro Manila. I told you about the other one I saw. What's happening is it's out of control. I don't think we can catch them now. I think it's completely out of control, so we need to work together to figure out what we're going to do about this, because they're not going to stop. What we do know is it's getting bigger. We know it's in Laos. We know it's in Dubai. We know it's in Isle of Man. We know that it's in South America. This is growing, and it's growing in places where we are going to have a difficult time rooting it out. So let me tell you back about my team. So what my team did, and this is how we were able to make a difference, is we're good at tracing cryptocurrency. And we did I love the what if we could mantra, and we thought, well, what if we could trace this money and get it back to victims? And that's what we did. And so that was great. That got us great press. But what it made us realize is United States law enforcement is not prepared. And that was a whole nother reason why the scammers are crushing us, is because they picked something crazy like cryptocurrency that nobody knows how to do. And so we were left with, how are we going to teach local law enforcement what to do about this? And that became our goal in 2023. And I started rounding up law enforcement to find out who does know how to do this. And I built a coalition. We started with 85 people, and now we are up to over 2,200 members of local, state, federal, international law enforcement who have a community. And we do webinars, we share library, we have go-bys, and we communicate all day, every day about, can someone verify this trace? Does anyone know what to do about this Bitcoin ATM? Hey, I'm having trouble with Binance, what do you know about that? This was a never before put together community of law enforcement to do this work. We called it the Crypto Coalition, and now we have all 50 states as well as all kinds of foreign countries that are involved in doing this. We're making the world smaller so that we can offer assistance to our victims. So I realized that after I built the Crypto Coalition and saw the benefit of bringing together people who care about this, I retired from my job and I started something called Operation Shamrock. That is to bring together a coalition of people from telco, social media, law enforcement, diplomacy, NGOs on the ground, victim services, to look at this in a holistic way. And now I realize I need to bring neurologists in, because we've got to deal with how do we help people that are going to have a natural proclivity to this because of the chemicals in their brain. I've done a ton to get this heard internationally, and I got to testify before Congress. But this is not enough. And this is why I'm putting you all on notice, that we've got a major problem here that the United States government is not addressing, that we are not taking seriously enough, and that 100%, if you don't know that it's affected you, you just don't know that yet, because someone in your circle has been hit by this. we need to make this the next Nigerian prince. And when I told that to this woman I was working with, she was shooting a documentary, and she's like, I don't know what the Nigerian prince is. And I was like, okay, well, you are a baby. So what you need to know is that we need to make everybody understand, hey, those texts that you're getting on your phone, they're not funny. They're from a human trafficked victim, and any money you send is going into the hands of Chinese organized criminals. And if I could tell you one more thing about the Philippines, the craziest part of this whole deal was Big Boss Villa is there. Now, I've never in my career as a prosecutor had the opportunity to walk through the home of my adversary until 5 days ago. And this compound was raided, and everybody got out with not a ton of notice. The Big Boss did. The Big Boss escaped. But to go through that house and see the level of consumption and shows of wealth that were taken directly from victims really inspired me to do more about this. So that what they wanted, they told me that I need to give you guys stuff to do. So this week I need you to talk about this. This is easy. Just talk about this, because this is objectively crazy that this is happening, and I'm sure you can tell one person about this. In 3 months, I want you to look around your business. There's something that you can do this week that will make your business safer. And in 6 months, come up with a task. Like, think of a way to make this happen. And if you don't have a task, join me at operationshamrock.org, and I'll give you a task, because this has got to get done. So I have, I think, 10 minutes left, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Yeah? No, that's a really good question. So one of the things that was really interesting in going through that Philippine compound was you could go through the notebooks to see who they were targeting. A lot of them are Chinese, and that was actually one of the first places they targeted. Is they had Chinese speakers, and they targeted China. They took a lot of money from China. And the ones I was looking through were Irish, and they were talking about, like, it was Scott in Dublin, and he is a cabinet maker. So yeah, it's all over the world, and I don't think anybody's doing a great job of handling the business. Yeah, Orange.
Do you have kind of prepackaged kits for people to take and adapt to, try and do our own kind of classes or seminars?
I do. If you go to operationshamrock.org and you click on Get Involved, and then click on Train the Trainer, we have a Train the Trainer class that's going to be on May 5th, and we will give you the deck, and we will send you on your way. We would be delighted. Yeah?
Is there any kind of a task force to sit at the same table, the several governments around the world that are being affected? Because everybody's being affected, including the Chinese, right? Including the Philippines, including the Cambodians. Isn't there a kind of a...
Wouldn't that be a great idea?
But that's the only
It's the only way, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so if you think of where I started as a local prosecutor, and how I've been like pecking up and up the order, yes, that's exactly what we need. Is this doesn't end until everybody gets together and says, we're not having this anymore, and we do something about it. So yes, it needs to be done.
Because it looks to me, the way you showed on the screen, that there are a lot of governments out there shutting their eyes or looking to the other side, because somebody is making money out of this, along with the criminal organizations.
100%. There is embedded corruption in Southeast Asia that is profiting very well from this, and it makes it very difficult to do something.
That's difficult to fight against.
But you're right. Yes, we need to have everybody sitting at the table and addressing this and acknowledging their part in it.
On the other hand, in the United States and other countries, the only way to fight this is, the way I see it, educating people, passing on the information, making programs in schools, in colleges, in communities. We gotta pass on the word.
Yep.
That's the only way.
Come to my Train the Trainer. I'll get you set up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, really great talk. I work for a financial company that's commonly impersonated by these scammers, and we get emails from victims all the time. And we've been trying to figure out ways to help the victims before they get scammed, but it's kind of tough because by the time they reach out to us, it's already too late.
Yeah.
Do you have any guidance on like what a organization can do to help spread the word to victims?
Yeah, I think that what we need is we need a national campaign about this, and we need to know like who's willing to put some money into this, and who's willing to put some workforce into this and do just that. I think that is the thing that, you know, we did a Smokey the Bear campaign. When you think of campaign, we did a cigarette kills campaign. We've done national campaigns that have been effective, and we need to have an anti-scam campaign that does something about this.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Gary.
So Aaron's a great friend. I'm just giving a little scale here. The 2024 numbers are out from both FTC and IC3. The number Aaron shared from 2023 from IC3 was 4.5 billion. We all knew for 2 years now that this is the largest financial crime in America. So how did that change to 2024? Now it was 6.5 billion. It went up by $2 billion. And the thing about that is that is 4% of the complaints they received were about this, but 41% of all of the losses were from crypto investment scams.
Yeah.
So even though it's a small number of people, it is 40+% of all of the financial crime that got reported last year. So.
Well, and a piece of that that's interesting is if we knew any other crime that was up 40% year on year, we would certainly do something about it. I don't know any other crimes that are up 40% where we're not getting national traction on it. Yeah.
Thank you for the thought. I'm just curious why you think it's under-addressed or not had a national campaign yet.
That's a really good question. I think that there is a narrative change that needs to be done. I think that it's very easy to dismiss this as old ladies losing money until you really understand the bigger picture. And I don't think that our news cycle and our 2 minutes on a local broadcast has the time to go into what a massive problem this is. But I think that we also have to address the fact that our US government has not had an appetite for doing something about this. And we need to look at, well, why not? What are we prioritizing above this? And my pitch now is that, you know, wherever you fall on the political spectrum, we have a president who said America first, and we're going to protect you from foreign actors. And I think I've made the case that we've got a foreign actor that is coming at us with everything they have. Yeah.
Is AI and deepfakes because they're going to
Yes.
right? So voices and images will be completely, you won't be able to tell. Does your training teach people how to identify, or are there some strategies you have for people to?
You know, it's so funny. Definitely that is a problem. Definitely we know from firsthand, from me talking to that human trafficking victim, that absolutely they are putting her model's face on her face and allowing her to have conversations. So that's happening. I think it's, you know, it's funny because she would say that victims would say to her, show me your ear, or make your hand move, because they do know the tells. But still, the problem with this crime is that people don't want to believe that it's not true. They want to believe that it is true.
Yeah, I think those tales are going to go away.
I think you are. I think you're right.
We're going to start looking at how do we teach the levers of influence, because they're the same that we use to persuade as they use the threat actors are using to trick and deceive.
Yeah.
Because we can't tell you how to discover anymore, or look at the they don't work anymore.
No, I know. That's the thing. And these guys are good. Whatever it is we figure out, they pivot. They make it better. Yeah.
Thanks for this great presentation. It's really insightful. One of the things that we've been using in our company is trying to use some humor to get people to pay attention.
Oh, I like that.
And John Oliver has
Oh.
a great segment
Yes, he does.
on pig butchering. So it's my responsibility to do the fishing training for our company. And so we do quarterly training, and at least once a year I'll play segments from the John Oliver clip to say it's not just clicking on links in the email. You know, you also have to look at, you're getting these crazy text messages. What's so harmful with responding to, oh, I'm not your doctor, hope your horse is okay? Like, hang on. There's more behind this. So I'm going to use your slide deck for sure in our next presentation.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that John Oliver piece is super powerful. Yeah.
Can we have people speak in the Q&A mic? Thank you. For records.
I'm just trying to understand how practical is it to recover anything once these people lose their money? I know it's out in the ether, but
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I would say, so my mantra used to be educate, seize, disrupt. And I used to say that over and over. And I think that seizure is really less and less likely because, again, just as we were talking about deepfakes and AI, as soon as we figured out how they were moving money, they moved it a different way. And then we figured out how to trace through mixers, and then they moved it a different way. And so, if your question is how realistic is it for someone to think they'll get their money back, if they report it to me within 24 hours, I might be able to help them. But that's not where our victims are. Our victims can't even come to terms with what happened to them. And when you think about 24 hours, that's only the most recent payment, because that's how pig butchering works, is you're going to take some, and then there's going to be a month, then they're going to take some more, then there's going to be a month. And so there really, that is the sad truth. And if I could say one more thing, I know I have to get off the stage, that the other problem with all of this is the fake recovery schemes that are all over Google that tell these people they can get their money back, and they're really making a mess of it for people. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you.